So my four-wheel drive has death wobbles. Bad.
Now that's an issue.
Around the 60 to 70 kilometer mark, this thing just shakes itself to death on the road, and it feels like the whole car's gonna fall apart. But today is an exciting day because today, I think I finally figured out what's causing it, and we're gonna get rid of those death wobbles once and for all. And the first thing I'm tackling today is the brake pads. So I've got a few things to get to before we get into worrying about what's causing the death wobbles. We've got our brake pads to do. I want to fix up the handbrake. I'm also going to play around with the steering because the steering is really loose at the moment. So we've got many things to do today, so stick around. Let's get into it. There's one. So that one actually still has a little bit on it. And that one's got nothing on it. So for the new set, I just bought Bendix four-wheel drive brake pads. It's what my whole family's been using forever, so figured get the same, and yeah, should be no worries. They were about 70 bucks for the rear, and I think around 70 for the front as well. Compare the pair, bit of a difference, eh? That's why you check your brakes. Because you're putting in new brake pads, the chances are you're probably going to have to decompress the cylinder so you can actually get it back on and cover your new brake pads, just like that. Boom. So I just use a G-clamp, and then you can put a bit of wood just to protect the actual cylinder, and then wind it up and decompress that cylinder. And if you're gonna change the brake pads in the rear of your car, you may as well do it in the front as well. It's just better to have more evenly wearing all around. You know, for future use, and it's just better all around. All right, and again for the front. Now the fronts actually look like a bit of a different design. I think you can just like pop out the special clip and they should just pull out. So, and they're actually dual piston, as well at the front. So yeah, we'll crack into that. New brake pads on. Still a little bit on them, but good to replace them anyway. They're looking pretty old, so get these old ones out, get these new ones in. And I'm also tightening up the handbrake while I'm here. Toyotas are kind of known for having sort of the handbrake to back off every once in a while, so I'm gonna tighten it up, and hopefully then it should all be working good. And don't forget to torque those wheel nuts. Now it's time to get the 80 series back up in the air because it was time to put in my new adjustable panhard rods that I got from Fulcrum Suspension. So you might have heard me talking about wanting to put in adjustable panhard rods when I did the suspension lift. This is because like when you lift a car, imagine this is the panhard rod and this is the axle. When you lift the car up, because it's connected to the body of the car, it's going to want to shift out your axle to one side, meaning your tire is going to poke out. For me, my tires poked out on the driver's side, but they're actually inside of the guards on the passenger side. I see this around a lot of other 4Bs getting around, and that's because they don't have an adjustable panhard rod. A factory panhard rod is designed for factory suspension, not for like a 2-inch or a 3-inch lift on your 4Bs. So to fix this, you get adjustable panhard rods, it gets the track running proper, and the car will perform how it's meant to perform. So an adjustable panhard rod is pretty much just how it sounds. It's a panhard rod that is adjustable. So you can see here, I'm winding it out. I actually wound mine out 10 mil compared to the factory one on the front and rear. And I found this delivered the most centered track for my suspension and weight setup. Well, so you're probably all wondering, hang on a minute, we haven't even spoken about what this whole video was about, fixing death wobbles. Now let me get on to that. Death wobbles can occur through many factors. For example, you got to make sure your wheels are aligned, you got to make sure they're balanced properly. A simple tire rotation could fix your death wobbles. For me, I did all that, I did through all the other checks, and I still had them. So my next sort of thing to lead me towards was to look at bushes. Primarily panhard bushes. Now, when I put the car on the hoist, I had to play around with the panhard bushes and they were absolutely flogged out. You can see here, after I took them out of the car, there was literally 2 mil play either side of the crush tube. So I was pretty confident that this is where my death wobbles was coming from. Every time I seemed to hit a bump in the road, my car would shake around like crazy. So I'll put in the new panhard rods. We'll see if this makes a difference. But first, today's video was sponsored by Olight. If you've been watching our channel long enough, you've probably seen us use these Olight torches before. Whether we were stuck on the side of the road or installing a new turbocharger, we always found these torches to be super handy. And currently they're having a massive Black Friday sale with huge discounts across the Olight range. So whether you're out in the bush or working on your car in the shed, use coupon code ARVOS10 to save 10% off selected items. But this sale ends November 30th, so check them out at the link in the description. A good tip as well when you're installing these is to use a ratchet strap to connect the body to the chassis. This allows you to ratchet the axle across the body. This helps tremendously to get, one, the panhard out, but also to get the new adjustable panhard in the right spot. So it was a really straightforward swap over, but I do have to say I am pretty lucky to have the hoist. It does make it a hell of a lot easier, especially when they're quite high torque settings you have to retorque the bolts to. So it was pretty much all nearly done, but there was one issue. So I got the panhards in, that all went well, it all worked, but now I've got an issue with the steering. So when I'm going straight down the road, the steering wheel sits on about a 90+ degree angle, so we need to straighten the steering wheel back up, which I'll try to show you how to do. But what we also need to do is fix up the play in the steering wheel. Now, my steering wheel has so much play in it, like it's actually really dangerous on the freeway and stuff because you want to make tiny little adjustments, you can't. You have to literally spin the wheel so far to make adjustments. So I'm going to show you how to tighten up the steering wheel and also readjust the steering wheel to get it running and sitting center. I forgot to bring my camera down, but I'm trying to straighten up the wheel because when I put in those panhards and changed the length, it messed my steering. When I got back on the road, the steering wheel was at like 90 degrees. So all you need is a screwdriver and a 19mm socket, and then you can undo, a bit hard holding the camera at once, you can undo this little nut here and then essentially take the steering wheel off the spline and then just recenter it. So I'm going to do that right now. Then once you've adjusted it, just put it back on, find some bitumen, go drive down some bitumen roads, make sure it's straight, and if you need to do adjustments, just take it off and keep adjusting until it's straight. So next is tightening up your steering. Now this is actually really easy to do, especially on the 80 series. The steering box is right here, and I'll run you through the steps on how to do it. It's like an 8-step process, and your steering will literally, it feels so much better after you've done it. It almost feels like you're driving a different car. It's really good. So you need the wheels to be centered, and ideally you actually want the wheels to be off the ground as well. So you can see this adjusting nut. We basically want to back off that adjusting nut, and then with a screwdriver we want to screw the screw in hard until it completely stops. And then you want to take the same screw and turn it loose, and then turn it back until you feel it tighten again. This is usually about 180 degrees. Now you have to do full lock left and right. You want to be making sure that the steering box isn't going to bind up because you can over tighten these things, and then when you go full lock you'll hear it bind up and click. So you want to make sure that you're not over tightening the steering box. So now with the steering tightened and the wheel adjusted, go out and drive it. It'll feel like a brand new car. Well, it did for me anyway. It felt a heap better on the road and it drove great. So now with the depth wobbles gone, with the brakes working well, with the steering being nice and tight, and with the steering wheel actually being straight in the car, it's driving a million times better. Like it genuinely feels like a new car after doing all those bits. So I highly recommend you guys just spend a little bit of time looking after your car. Don't neglect it like what I did for 5 months. Get under there, check the bushes, play around with the steering and get it so it's comfortable and safe to drive. At the end of the day, we just want our cars to drive well and to be safe. So I hope you enjoyed this bit of a video. I know it was different, but it was rushed and someone had to get out quickly. So yeah, appreciate it. We got some awesome stuff coming in the next couple of weeks, like just genuinely just some awesome videos. So get subscribed, give it a like, and we'll see you guys in the next video.